my friend. I'm so glad to see you in the study. I'd like to show you this book today on this beautiful, rainy summer day about the Solent, one of Britain's most beautiful waterways and the playground of sailors in Britain and from all over the world. The book of the Solent, including the Isle of Wight coastal voyage, here we have some paintings. Calshot Castle, Old Watergate and Jail in Southampton, Hulk of the Gun Wharf in Portsmouth, and there's the Round Tower of Portsmouth. These towers, some of them, were built to oppose a possible Napoleonic invasion. Others were built for navigational purposes. And here we have a list of all the authors of this book. Let's have a look at the map. A new map of the Isle of Wight, including part of Hampshire, mid-19th century. This is the Solent, and this is the Isle of Wight. This island was called Wectis by the Romans, and you might have seen it if you watched my maps of the invasion of Britain by Claudius. So it was a very important island, and this is the mainland of Britain. This is Portsmouth here. There were a number of Roman forts there. This is Southampton Water. Up at the end is Southampton. And there are a number of rivers coming in to the Solent. There is Chichester there. Probably farther along there. Yes. It's Langston there. All along here were Roman forts and very good places for harbors and putting boats on the shore. This is what's called the New Forest. It was new about 1,000 years ago, and lots of rivers flow down through the New Forest there. And here's the Isle of Wight. A couple of very nice Roman sites there, as well as some more modern sites. Lots of Victorian era estate houses. It was the summer residences of some of the nobility, and also Queen Victoria's summer house, Osborne House, there. Cowes, that hosts most of the sailing races, the Island Sailing Club, and Newtown Creek. That was a large oyster community in the Middle Ages that was used, a lot of oysters were used to get the color purple in dyes. And Bembridge here that was dammed up so that a little bit more water, a little bit more land could be used there. So it used to be kind of a spit during Roman times. And in this area, lots of cruise ships and container ships come through here from all over the world on their way to Southampton, and of course the military warships into Portsmouth and Gosport, where the submarine base is. Here we have the foreword by the Lord Lieutenant Christopher Bland, Lord Lieutenant of the Isle of Wight, and Mary Fagan, Lord Lieutenant of Hampshire. The Solent and Spithead geographically divide the communities of Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. This sheltered water has, however, brought mainlanders and islanders together in shared history. During the Second World War, that great islander, sailor, and yacht designer Uffe Fox used to refer to England as our gallant ally. There has long been a need for a book that closely examines this unique piece of water, with its peculiar tides, ecologically rich shores, and shallows. The book brings together two organizations that are playing an important part in the protection, conservation, and understanding of the waters between Hampshire and the Wight. The book is published in August 2001, with many of the most beautiful sailing vessels, which will be competing in the celebration of the schooner America's victory in the race round the island in 1851 that led in due time to the America's Cup. Isle of Wight and the Solent also has a very significant prehistoric archaeological resource, as the Solent was dry land hundreds of thousands of years ago, and fishermen are regularly dredging up archaeological finds. And here we have the prehistory of the Solent. There's the White and Purbeck Ridge, and the promontory now called the Needles, which is white chalk cliffs along here. And all of these little islands, like Hayling Island and Chichester, is waterways, because this used to be a river, and much of this was dry land. There you can see the white cliffs of the White Purbeck Ridge. Ichthys or Waketis and the drowning of the Solent. This is when the North Sea was mainly a river, and it has been now geologically established that the river formed a waterfall as the glaciers melted and flooded this part of the land, or what was then land. And this was a large dry area called Doggerland, which is why we get the area now called Dogger in the weather report of the offshore weather. And here you can see the ridges and the squeaky page ages. And maybe you can hear the rain outside too. It's a very nice pattering sound as the summer rain falls on the window pane and the roof, the tiled roof outside, and all the lush green leaves of summer, while we look at the geology of the Solent. The layers and the depth of the Western Solent. Here we have a Paleolithic hand axe dredged from the floor of the Western Solent. And this is a depiction of a Mesolithic and Neolithic community man. It says these communities were drawn to the rich natural resources of the Solent shore. And there shows the depths and layers of the sediments of the modern day bed of the Solent. And there's a piece of an axe all covered with barnacles. Cornish greenstone, shipped to the Isle of Wight in the 3rd millennium BC, showing that there was a lot of traveling going on. And also some Neolithic boats. These are dugout boats. And they posit that they might have had outriggers or a simple sail. And there's a cairn or a burial site, Bembridge limestone. Some more finds. Building of a boat in the Bronze Age. And some amphorae from the Iron Age. There was a lot of trading with what was then the classical world. And here's another cross-section of the seawall and how the water levels have changed throughout the years. You can see the old seawall in Newtown Creek, approaching it from the water at low tide. Here we have Quar Abbey, was built in 1250, was reconstructed, they constructed a new abbey in the 20s. It's a very Art Deco, but a very dark red brick structure. But the old medieval ruin is still there, about 1250. And here we have the medieval precinct wall, about 1365. Here is a medieval waterfront monastic tile kiln that was found. It's about 1250. And here, medieval posts. So you can see the modern water level is here. And this is the Roman water level. And a medieval alignment was dated to around 1200. Here we have another Roman wooden structure from about AD 200. So we can tell the high and low tides there. We get up to about 4 meters difference in high and low tide in the Solent today. Here's Middle Saxon post structure. So the water level was considerably lower. The Saxons actually post-date the Romans too. So they've got of 800, so after the 200 AD post level. So you have a bit of a variation of war. Later, about 300 BC, with Iron Age, seafront and post structures, and 3800 BC, late New Stone Age. And this one goes back again, 800 BC, late Bronze Age post-alignment. A variation there, thousands of years. Early New Stone Age, again 3800 BC. And here is some interesting things. Submerged oak forest, dated 3100 to 2600 BC. And Middle Stone Age tools and flint waste around 4000 BC. So you can see by about, in 3000 BC, around the time of the heroic age in Greece, the Solent was dry land with possibly a river flowing through it. Nice to have a bibliography. I always appreciate that. Especially if you want to go look up some more interesting things. Now we come to the natural history. We have lots of wetlands and reed areas, which is perfect for wildlife to breed in the summer. This is Newtown Creek. You can see it's very low, all the sailboats coming in there, and the wooden seawall there. It's a very quiet place, and it's a protected area. You're not allowed to land on the protected area. Here we have a spoonbill, lots of reeds for warblers and wrens, and there's a baby black-headed gull. They're beautiful flyers. Merganser duck. All the goose species. A little egret. A purple sandpiper. Butterflies. Look at all the butterflies. Yellow, orange, blue, and this one looks like a leaf. Insects. There's a dragonfly. And a fox. I love foxes. This is a red fox. Vulpes. And historically they used to have whales in the Solent as well. There are a lot of sea lions and dolphins spotted too. Lobsters, all kinds of wildlife and sea life. And there we have a cute little stoat. A little red squirrel. And a wood mouse. This is a marshmallow flower. I'm sure you can guess what yummy treat can be made from this flower. Sea holly. Purple orchid. The dog rose. Sea kale, sea rocket, and a marsh orchid. And a yellow poppy. Footholds on the shore, brief archaeology of some early historic activities on the Solent coast. century map that shows Magnus Portus, the great port, Portsmouth, and the island of Wectis in an ocean alive with fish, the Mare Gallicum, with English Channel. We have some Roman finds and tribal coins. Iron Age and tribe of the Durotriges of Dorset. This is a model of Fishbourne Palace near the Chichester Channel, and some more archaeological finds there. This is the Roman temple on Hayling Island, seen from the air. And there are all the principal settlements and Roman roads. It's a walled Roman fortress at Bittern. And went up Belgarum and Clausentum. We read about Clausentum in some of Rosemary Sutcliffe's novels. This is perhaps Portus Adorni, the Roman and Norman defences at Portchester, near Portsmouth. It's been rebuilt in medieval times and later fortified with medieval walls. And here's some boats and ships of the Emperor Electus on bronze coins. Mosaic and an altar of the Three Mothers. More Roman remains. Bronze Age ring-headed pin and a reconstruction of the walled medieval city of Southampton. You can still see part of the medieval walls and door today. Newtown again, and a silver scent bottle, because there are lots of sunken rocks and shoals and things. There are a lot of wrecks in the Solent, and they were able to recover things from the wrecks. One of the more famous wrecks is that of the Mary Rose. They were able to bring it up in the 80s, I think it was. And it's only recently opened up now because it's been preserved as best it can. Marvelous museum in Portsmouth at the historic dockyards, built especially for the ship, the Mary Rose, and all of the artifacts that were found on it. This is a carronade from a different ship that was wrecked on the Needles Passage. And this is the Invincible, a ship that was stranded on a part of the Solent bank called Horsetail. Looks like there was a submarine as well. There's also a huge submarine barrier that has one passage for keeled yachts and big ships to go through because of Second World War submarines. And here we have the Solent as a naval and military waterway. You can see there was a lot happening around Portsmouth, Portsea, Portchester. One of the little-known places is up the Bewley River. It's called Bewley because of the Middle Ages pronunciation of the Anglo-Norman. It's actually spelled Beaulieu, but tradition has everyone pronouncing it Bewley. And you wind your way up the river to an old dockyard where they actually had slips and made ships in the Napoleonic era, because the New Forest is here, from which they could get lots of timber. And here's an engraving of a shipyard and the sinking of the Mary Rose, just out there in the action. She wasn't hit, but she sank because she turned very sharply and filled with water. There's Calshot Castle as it looks today. South Sea Castle and Hurst Castle, the western Solent. All of these interspersed with these marvelous nature and wildlife preserves. So from the time of the Romans to the modern day, throughout all the wars, the Solent was used as military location for building ships and for defenses. This is also a little known part of Solent history, is the aviation. So aside from the America's Cup and the innovation of sailing boats and fast hulls, there was a lot of aviation pioneers, or pioneers of aeronautical travel. One man who owned the Singer Sewing Machine Company was also a pioneer aviation engineer. And here it says, in 1909, Blériot blew the channel. This short flight helped fire the imagination of a generation of young men and inspired them to retreat into outhouses or barns, and using what skills they had, attempt to build a machine that flew. And there's quite a few airplane companies and a lot of history of aeronautics in Cowes, so across the Medina River from Cowes. Here is the Empire or C-class flying boat, Canopus. Imperial Airways would go all over the world. The grand days of flying. Some early sea boat, look at that. That is a Saunders Sopwith. It cows in about 1912. And this one is about 1931, a Supermarine S6B at Calshot. Look at all these beautiful flying boats. The only Sonder Row princess to fly. And the Yankee flying over the Isle of Wight. Saunders Row's SRA-1 jet flying boat. Today, Cowes is one of the places where ferries, life-saving boats, and giant propellers for offshore wind farms are built. Here we have the enchanted shore. There's Netley Abbey on the shores of Southampton Water. 1797 painting of Calshot Castle and the mysterious clouds and full moon. The Latin tag et in Arcadia ego, I too lived in Arcady, decorates the tomb in the center of Nicholas Poussin's great work, The Arcadian Shepherd. Nicolas Poussin also painted A Dance to the Music of Time, and it is housed in the Wallace Collection in London. It's a very haunting work, Poussin and his paintings. And we have Romantic era paintings. Southampton Water by Turner. He did lots of sketches of the English countryside, studies for his later paintings. The little villa, very small. A pagoda at the Forest Lodge, like a tea house there. And that's the Forest Lodge at Hythe. Architectural drawings. Eaglehurst. Bourneil Cottage. The Isle of Wight really became a playground for summer. Mrs. Beeston's Baths in Leamington, and there are some bathers going out to enjoy the water. And that's Gurnett and the Solent, and you can see the ships. 1809 by Charles Tompkins. The Enchanted Shore, Isle of Wight. Castle. Yeah, the creaky book and the rain has strengthened right now, so you might be able to hear it on the roof. And this is looking at East Cowes from West Cowes. West Cowes is just called Cowes now. And there you can see Queen Victoria's Osborne House. And we're just looking at the pictures because they're very pretty. And we're having a nice, relaxing time in the study on a rainy summer's day. And this is your space for you to relax and be calm and at peace. You are the monarch of the study. And there's Norris Castle. Fishbourne and Ryde on the Isle of Wight. Beautiful paintings. Ryde Pier. So the ferry goes from Portsmouth to Ryde, and another ferry goes from Southampton to Cowes, and another one runs between Leamington and Yarmouth. So 3 routes to get to the Isle of Wight from the mainland. These are all Ryde, and this is braiding. And the water that I told you about that eventually was dammed up to form a river so that some of this land could be reclaimed. There's a Roman villa there that used to be on the waterline. You can go see. It's got a really funny chicken man mosaic. A man with a chicken head. They're not sure what to make of that, but there are several theories. One was that it was meant to make fun of the Emperor Gallus. This is by, it says, the English school around 1870. So we don't have the name of an artist. The Eastern Solent from South Sea Common at sunset. Very peaceful, peaceful time. Priory Bay at Brembridge Point. Needle Rock, which has since fallen. So we just have this ridge sticking out of the water now called the Needles. P.J. de Louisbourg, 1815. There's the Needle. You can see the old wooden boats and the old rigging. The ships in the distance. There's so many underwater or submerged obstacles. You really have to be careful navigating around there. And there we have Yarmouth, which is on the western end, northwestern end of the Isle of Wight. And Alum Bay. You can see the Needles coming there. Shipping off the Needles. You can still see the Needles there. That's off Yarmouth. Freshwater Bay. And in the western Solent, it looks like a particularly stormy, windy day. Satchel's Bay by William Bartlett, 1830. Some very nice drawings there. Look at that, the colors. The Romantics knew how to do landscapes like that, didn't they? With the distance going off into a haze. As the colors fade, it gives it sort of a glow and almost a fantastical feel. There's the Osborne House there. No, it's Vintner. It's around the south side. And there's Vintner from the west. 1895. Ventnor Cascade. Bonchurch from the sea. I like the golden glow in this one. And the Vale at Bonchurch. They're repairing fishing lobster baskets. The White Cliff at Ventnor. You can always see those white cliffs jutting out when you're crossing the channel from France. You know the Isle of Wight is in sight. It's always a nice thing to see, especially if you've been sailing through the night and the sun comes up and you can see those white cliffs on the horizon. I have some people sitting there in their lobster baskets. Sandown Bay. This is William Gray, 1855. Panoramic watercolor shows a scene on a beach where a small fishing community existed until the site was destroyed by a landslide in 1910. Culver Cliff. Queen Victoria's experimental squadron exercising in the Solent. You can see the age of sail is almost finished. Mid-19th century painting there. And the Solent at sunrise. And another one by William Gray, Sunset, White Cliff Bay. And now we get to the racing, yachts, and a yachtsman. Cutters of the Royal Navy off Cowes. You can see by the smoke that they've fired some guns. A starting gun, like the very famous one for the races in Malta. Lord Belfast's 5 yachts between 1825 and 1834. These beautiful sleek boats, the precursors of the J-boats. The schooner America off Cowes in 1851. And Calshot Castle again, headquarters of the Castle Yacht Club from 1887. The book is making creaking noises. I like that. It's nice to be around books in the study on a rainy day. This is the yacht called Bloodhound, owned by the Marquis of Ailsa. The yacht's mast is now within the battery in front of the Royal Yacht Squadron and flies the squadron flags and symbols. And this is the entrance to Southampton Water. There you can see all the masts, distance, and our landmarks for Southampton. Earl of Crawford's Valhalla, 1,490 tons, 1899. And some more very big yachts, the HMY Alberta, Nalin, and Sunbeam. Erskine Childers' yacht, Vixen, and the Royal Cutter, Britannia. The sloop Jade, Meteor 3 and Germania, and the Endeavour, owned by the Sopwith, that you remember was also into aviation. Sort of a lot of innovation in sail and aviation on the Solent. The schooner Westward, and the Philant. The book is really creaking as we get to the end. Isn't that funny sound? Like creaky boards. The giant little campeador. The blue bottle. This is the start of the Whitbread Round the World race. And there's the Royal Yacht, Britannia. Look at that. And commercial shipping. And yacht photography, the Marriott. And there's a man with his very heavy camera with a shutter button in his mouth, Frank Beacon. And he has lots of famous photographs of yachts. There's the Meteor Bore in 1909. The wonderful sailing races that took place. The Ladies' Day race. You see the ladies sailing. Noriyama. Look how far they're leaning over. And this is Britannia and Westwood with full sail. HMS Drake leading the first cruiser squadron. HMS Implacable, 1903. All the sailors standing in formation on the deck. So Beacon got some very historic photographs, and from some of his photographs, paintings were made later because they were so nicely done. This is the yacht America, taken in 1997 when the craft came over from the US. Belshada, 1997. Look at that beautiful sleek hull. Glasgow. The Rendezvous, losing its spinnaker. The hovercraft that now services between Portsmouth and Ryde. The cruise ship Mercury. A lot of cross-channel ferries operate out of Portsmouth as well. Look at that, almost losing the spinnaker there. And now we have the Solent today. This is a view of the mouth of the River Medina from Cowes. Now we know this book is 20 years old, and now there exists a huge breakwater across there. There's a small channel here for very small boats, like dinghies and motorboats. But all the boats use this main channel now because it's the entire entrance is blocked up by this breakwater. It's been really nice for navigation, but also it allows more of the smaller boats to moor inside. Some maritime business at the Southampton International Boat Show that happens every year, except for last year, of course. There's our tower. They're talking about pulling it down, but for almost 100 years or more, it's been a landmark. You can see it everywhere in the Solent. You see the organizations of statutory responsibility. Queen's Harbour Master, Portsmouth. Southampton, Lymington, Keyhaven, Chichester. There's Hurst Spit and Keyhaven. Very beautiful, beautiful little area there. Very shallow. And the shipping. Contour map. And there's Yarmouth and the western Solent looking towards Cowes and Portsmouth. So I hope you've enjoyed our little time here Solent on a dreamy, rainy summer's day. I hope you're nice and relaxed, and I send you lots and lots of tingles. Remember to be good to yourself today and every day. Be kind to